3 days ago, my daughter called to tell me she'd gotten married yesterday. Didn't invite me to the wedding. Then she asked for the keys to my Cape Cod beach house worth $2.1 million for her honeymoon. I'm Lorraine Washington. I'm 67 years old. I'm a retired nurse. I raised my daughter alone after my husband passed. And when she made that call, I smiled and said, "Of course, sweetheart. I'll make sure you get them." But the keys weren't the only thing I sent. I sent a wedding gift that made her new husband scream so loud, the neighbors called the police. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this has traveled. And please, stay with me until the end. Because this story isn't just about betrayal, it's about what happens when someone underestimates a black mother protecting her child. Let me tell you how we got here. 18 months earlier, it was a Sunday afternoon in March 12th, 2023 to be exact, when my daughter Alicia brought Brandon Hayes home for the first time. I was in my kitchen at 847 Riverside Drive in Cape Cod, making jambalaya the way my grandmother taught me back in New Orleans. The recipe had been in our family for 4 generations. Andouille sausage from the butcher on Main Street, shrimp from the dock market, and my secret ingredient, a pinch of file powder my cousin still sent me from Louisiana every Christmas. Alicia had called that morning, her voice bright with excitement. "Mama, I'm bringing someone special for dinner. His name is Brandon. I really want you to meet him." My daughter was 29 years old, a senior marketing manager at Weber & Associates, making $127,000 a year. She had her own condo in Boston's Back Bay, a retirement account, and $213,000 in savings, money she'd built herself without anyone's help. She was independent, brilliant, and careful about who she let into her life. So when she said special, I paid attention. They arrived at 6:47 p.m. I remember because I'd just taken the cornbread out of the oven when I heard the car pull up. Brandon Hayes stepped out of a black Mercedes S-Class, a 2022 model, lease plates from a dealership in Newton. He was 33 years old, 6'2", wearing a charcoal Tom Ford suit that probably cost $3,500, carrying 2 dozen yellow roses in one hand and a bottle of Chateau Margaux 2015 in the other. He was handsome in that polished, practiced way. Light brown hair cut perfectly, clean-shaven, smile that showed all his teeth. The kind of handsome that usually made me suspicious. "Mrs. Washington," he said, extending his hand. His grip was firm but not aggressive. "Brandon Hayes, I've heard so much about you. Alicia talks about you constantly." I studied him for 3 seconds longer than was polite, long enough to see his smile flicker just slightly. "Come in, Brandon. Dinner's almost ready." During the meal, Brandon did everything right. He complimented the jambalaya 3 times. "This is incredible, Mrs. Washington. The layers of flavor, it's like nothing I've ever tasted." He asked thoughtful questions about my 35 years as a nurse at Boston General. "Alicia told me you worked in the ER. That must have been intense. What made you choose emergency medicine?" He talked about his work, vaguely, as an investment consultant for high-net-worth individuals. No company name, no specific clients, just broad descriptions that sounded impressive but meant nothing. And he mentioned my beach house 3 times. The first time was subtle. "Alicia showed me photos of this place. That sunset view is extraordinary." The second time was calculating. "Property values in Cape Cod have really appreciated, haven't they? Especially beachfront. Must be worth quite a bit now." The third time was too much. "You bought this in 2008, right? Right after the market crash?" "That was brilliant timing, Mrs. Washington. The investment alone—" "I didn't buy it as an investment," I said, setting down my fork. "I bought it as a home. This is where Alicia learned to swim, where we spent every summer, where we scattered her father's ashes." Brandon's smile didn't waver. Of course. The memories are priceless. I just meant, from a financial perspective, it shows real foresight. Everything was about money with him. Everything. After dinner, he insisted on helping with dishes. He complimented my home. He told me, "You must be so proud of Alicia. You raised an extraordinary woman." But the way he said it, like Alicia was an achievement, a trophy, a prize he'd won. As they were leaving, Brandon hugged me. "Thank you for a wonderful evening, Mrs. Washington. I can see where Alicia gets her strength and grace." I smiled, said all the right things, told Alicia to drive safe. But after they left, I stood in my kitchen staring at the roses he'd brought. Expensive, perfect, but somehow cold, and I called my older sister, Patricia. "Trish," I said when she picked up, "I just met Alicia's new boyfriend." "And?" "Something's wrong. Lori, you always think something's wrong with her boyfriends." "This is different. He reminded me of David's old business partner, the one who—" "Don't say it," Patricia cut me off. "David's been gone 3 years. You can't compare every man to that situation." "Then why does my gut feel the same way it did back then?" Patricia sighed. "Because you're a mother and you're protective. Give the boy a chance. Alicia's smart. She wouldn't fall for—" "Smart women get conned too," I said quietly, "especially when the con man is good." I hung up and went back to the kitchen, cleaned every dish, scrubbed every pot, worked until my hands hurt. Because I knew something Patricia didn't know yet. My instincts had been honed over 67 years of living as a black woman in America. I'd navigated racism in nursing school when professors told me I wasn't suited for medicine. I'd raised a daughter alone after my husband died. I'd worked double shifts to give Alicia everything she needed while dealing with colleagues who assumed I was less qualified because of my skin color. You don't survive all that without learning to read people, without learning to see the truth beneath the performance. And Brandon Hayes was performing. Over the next 6 months, I watched my daughter disappear, not physically, but spiritually, emotionally. The bright, independent woman I'd raised started to fade, replaced by someone quieter, more uncertain, always checking her phone before making decisions. Month 1, April 2023, the daily phone calls stopped. Alicia and I had talked every day for 29 years. During her lunch break at work, we'd chat about everything: work gossip, the book she was reading, plans for the weekend, nothing and everything. After Brandon, those calls went from daily to every other day, then twice a week, then weekly. When I asked about it, Alicia said, "Mama, Brandon thinks I rely on you too emotionally. He showed me these articles about enmeshed mother-daughter relationships, how they can prevent women from fully bonding with their partners." "Did he show you articles?" I asked carefully. "Or did he tell you what the articles meant?" "Both. Mama, he's not trying to keep me from you. He's trying to help me be more independent." "Baby girl, you own your own condo. You've been independent since you were 22. "Emotionally independent, Mama, that's different." I heard Brandon's words coming out of her mouth. That's when I knew the isolation had begun. Month 2, May 2023, I found out about Alicia's engagement the way strangers did. Through Instagram. May 14th, 2023, 9:47 p.m. A photo of her left hand, wearing a diamond ring that must have cost $45,000, with the caption, "He asked. I said yes. Forever starts now." 127 likes. 43 comments from friends, coworkers, college roommates. Not one of them asking, "Does your mother know?" Because they probably assumed I already did. I stared at that photo for 15 minutes, sitting in my kitchen with a cup of tea growing cold. My daughter was engaged, and I'd learned about it from social media. I called her immediately. "Mama, oh my God, I'm so sorry." Alicia's voice was breathless, excited. "It just happened tonight, and we were so caught up. Brandon surprised me at Mistral, you know, our favorite restaurant, and then we went back to his place and called his parents because they were expecting it, and it got so late and I was going to call you first thing tomorrow. I swear. Congratulations, baby girl," I said, forcing warmth into my voice. "Tell me everything." And she did. For 23 minutes, she described the proposal, the ring, how romantic it was, how Brandon's parents were already planning an engagement party at their country club in Greenwich, Connecticut. "When's the party?" I asked. Pause. "Saturday the 27th. It's going to be small, just immediate family and close friends." "Should I drive down Friday night? I can get a hotel nearby." Another pause. Longer. "Mama, about that. Brandon's family has very specific traditions. His mother, Caroline, she's planned everything according to their customs. It's really more of a Hayes family event." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "What are you saying, Alicia?" "I'm saying it's really just for Brandon's side and a few of our couple friends. It's not that you're not important, Mama. It's just they have this way of doing things, and Brandon thinks it's better if we respect that. We'll do something special, just the 3 of us, soon, I promise. Brandon thinks. Everything was about what Brandon thinks." "I see," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "Well, you have a wonderful time. You're not mad?" "No, baby. I want you to be happy." I hung up and sat in the dark for 2 hours. That something special, just the three of us, never happened. Month 3, June 2023, The Boundaries Conversation. June 18th, 2023. I remember because it was 3 days before Father's Day, the first one since David died. Alicia called, her voice tight and rehearsed. "Mama, I need to talk to you about something, and I need you to be cool about it." Nothing good ever followed that phrase. "What is it, sweetheart?" Brandon's been doing some research about healthy marriage dynamics. He thinks it's really important that we establish our independence as a couple from the very beginning. I set down the book I was reading. "What kind of independence?" "Well, he pointed out that I've been relying on you emotionally for most of my life, like calling you when I'm stressed instead of working through things with my partner. He thinks that might create problems in our marriage." "Alicia, talking to your mother when you're upset is normal. It's healthy." "But is it?" Her voice rose slightly, defensive. "Brandon showed me studies about women who prioritize their mothers over their husbands, how it destroys marriages. I don't want to be that wife, Mama." I closed my eyes, recognizing the manipulation. "What does this mean, practically?" "It means we need boundaries, less frequent contact, more space for Brandon and me to build our own traditions." She hesitated. "And Brandon thinks it would be healthier if we spent holidays with his family this year, just to break the pattern." The holidays. We'd spent every Christmas together for 29 years, every Easter, every Thanksgiving. It was our tradition, our time. After David died, those holidays had become even more precious, proof that we were still a family, even though we'd lost him. "I see," I said quietly. "Anything else?" "Actually, yes." Alicia's voice changed, became more rehearsed. "The beach house situation is complicated." "What about it?" "Well, I've always assumed I'd inherit it someday, but Brandon pointed out that creates unhealthy dynamics. Like he feels he can never truly relax there because it's not really ours. It's yours. And if something happened between you and me, we'd lose our vacation spot." My hands tightened on the phone. "Are you asking me to sign the house over to you?" "Not exactly. Brandon thinks it would be better if we just found our own place. Somewhere that's truly ours, where he doesn't feel like he's under constant scrutiny." Under scrutiny. From a woman who'd seen him exactly 4 times in 3 months. "Alicia, that house has been in our family for 15 years. It's where you learned to swim, where we scattered your father's ashes." "I know, Mama, and I treasure those memories. But I'm starting a new family now. Brandon needs to feel like we have our own special places." New family, own special places. Brandon's words, delivered in my daughter's voice. I ended that conversation with promises to think about everything and respect their needs. But inside, I was already planning. Not revenge, not yet. But I was going to find out exactly who Brandon Hayes really was. The next morning, June 19th, 2023, I called Nicole Chen. Nicole had been Alicia's roommate at Boston University. They'd been inseparable for 4 years, stayed close after graduation. Nicole was now a corporate attorney at Morrison & Forster, sharp as a blade, loyal to her core. "Lorraine," Nicole answered on the second ring. "I was just thinking about you. How are you?" "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. When's the last time you talked to Alicia?" Pause. "Not since March," Nicole said quietly. "We were supposed to do our annual girls' weekend in April, Nantucket, same place we go every year. But Alicia canceled last minute, said Brandon had planned a couples retreat and she couldn't back out." "Did she call to cancel or text?" "Text, which was weird because we always call for important stuff. The text was, I don't know, formal? Not like her." "What did it say exactly?" "Hold on." I heard Nicole scrolling. "Here it is. Hey Nick, have to cancel Nantucket. Brandon planned something for us and I can't disappoint him. Sorry for the short notice. We'll reschedule. No emojis, no voice note, just flat. Have you met Brandon?" "Once, at her birthday dinner in April. He was—" Nicole paused, choosing words carefully. "Charming, attentive, but something felt off, like he was performing the role of perfect boyfriend instead of actually being one." "Did Alicia seem happy?" "She seemed managed, like she was checking with him before answering questions. When I asked about her promotion at work, she looked at Brandon before responding. It was subtle, but I noticed." "Has she mentioned his work to you?" "Vaguely. Investment consultant, right? But when I asked about his firm, she got weird. Said he works independently, mostly referrals. I looked him up on LinkedIn. His profile is sparse. No company website, no verifiable clients. For someone who supposedly consults for wealthy people, his digital footprint is suspiciously minimal. That confirmed what I'd suspected. Nicole, I need you to do something for me. Use your lawyer connections. Find out whatever you can about Brandon Hayes. Age 33. Lives in Boston, probably Newton or Brookline based on his car. I'll pay whatever it costs. Lorraine, what's going on? I think my daughter is being conned, and I need proof before she marries him. When's the wedding? I don't know. She hasn't told me. Nicole was quiet for a moment. I'll make some calls. Give me a week. Week 1. While Nicole worked her connections, I started my own investigation. I began with what I knew, which was less about Brandon and more about patterns. My late husband, David Washington, had been destroyed by a con man 35 years ago, a business partner who'd smiled to his face while stealing from their joint accounts. A man who'd been charming, connected, trustworthy, until he wasn't. David had owned a small construction company in the 1980s. In 1988, he partnered with a man named William Hayes on a commercial development project in Dorchester. They were building a shopping center, 47 units, $4.2 million project. William Hayes had seemed perfect. Experienced developer, good references, solid financing. But over 18 months, William systematically embezzled $1.9 million from their joint accounts. By the time David discovered it, William had disappeared to Florida. The loss destroyed David, not just financially, though the bankruptcy was devastating, but emotionally. He'd trusted William, called him a friend. David spent 7 years trying to recover the money, filed lawsuits, hired investigators. But William Hayes had hidden the money too well, offshore accounts, shell companies, all of it untraceable. The stress contributed to David's heart attack in 2022. He died at 64, still carrying the weight of that betrayal. I'd never forgotten William Hayes's name, and now Alicia was dating a man named Brandon Hayes. Could be coincidence. Hayes is a common name, but my gut said otherwise. On June 21st, I drove to the Boston Public Library and spent 6 hours in the newspaper archives, searching for everything I could find about William Hayes. What I found made my blood run cold. William Hayes died in 1995 in a car accident in Tampa, Florida. But before he died, he'd given a deathbed confession to his family, documented in a Tampa Tribune article from May 17, 1995. The article was brief, buried on page 14. Local developer dies after confession. According to the article, William Hayes confessed to his wife, daughter, and teenage grandson that he'd stolen money in Boston 30 years earlier. He told them about offshore accounts containing substantial funds that he'd never disclosed to authorities. His teenage grandson's name was listed in the article, Brandon Michael Hayes, age 13 at the time. I sat in the library, staring at that newspaper article, hands shaking. Brandon knew. He'd known since he was 13 years old that his grandfather had stolen nearly $2 million from David Washington, and now he was dating David Washington's daughter. This wasn't coincidence. This was planned. Week 2, I hired a private investigator. His name was James Porter, 65 years old, former Boston PD detective who'd actually worked on some of David's fraud case back in the early 1990s. He was 3 months from retirement and took my case as a personal favor. Lorraine, he said when we met at a diner in Quincy on June 27th, I remember your husband. Good man. That Hayes situation destroyed him. What do you need? I told him everything. About Brandon, about Alicia, about the coincidence that wasn't a coincidence. Give me 2 weeks, Porter said. If this kid is running a game, I'll find it. He found it in 10 days. On July 7th, 2023, Porter called me at 9:22 p.m. Lorraine, you need to sit down for this. I sat in my kitchen, phone pressed to my ear. Brandon Hayes has done this before, twice. My stomach dropped. First victim, Jessica Ann Miller, age 32, met Brandon in early 2019. Her family owns Taste of Home, chain of 12 restaurants across New England, worth approximately $47 million. They dated for 14 months. Brandon proposed in April 2020. Engagement lasted 4 months before Jessica's father, Robert Miller, hired investigators. They discovered Brandon had $73,000 in gambling debts and was pressuring Jessica to access her trust fund. Robert confronted Brandon. Brandon disappeared overnight. Jessica broke off the engagement. Porter paused. Second victim, Rachel Bennett, age 30, met Brandon in March 2021. She has a trust fund worth $3.2 million from her late mother. Dated for 11 months. Engaged for 3 months. Rachel's brother, Thomas Bennett, got suspicious when Brandon started pushing for joint bank accounts immediately after the engagement. Thomas hired a forensic accountant who discovered Brandon's pattern. When confronted, Brandon claimed it was all a misunderstanding and left town. Rachel filed a restraining order. "Where are these women now?" I asked. "Jessica's in Seattle. Married, 2 kids, runs the family business. Rachel's in New York, working as an art curator. Both have moved on, but both were willing to talk to me when I explained your situation." "And Brandon's pattern?" "Textbook predator. He targets successful, wealthy women, usually women with family money or inheritance potential. He's charming, attentive, moves fast, proposes within 6 to 12 months, then starts isolating them from family, pushing for financial access. When families intervene, he disappears and finds a new target." "How does he find them?" "Research. He studies their social media, finds out where they work, what they like. The chance encounter is always staged. With Jessica, it was a coffee shop near her office. With Rachel, it was an art gallery opening. I'm guessing with Alicia, coffee shop," I whispered. "She said they met at a coffee shop in October." "There you go." "But why Alicia specifically? Why now?" Porter was quiet for a moment. "Lorraine, that's the part that's really ugly. I think Brandon knew about your husband's connection to his grandfather. I think he's been waiting." "Waiting for what?" "For David to die. For Alicia to become the sole heir." The words hit me like a punch. Brandon would have known about the offshore accounts from his grandfather's deathbed confession. Those accounts, Lorraine, they're still active. I traced them. They currently hold approximately $3.8 million, accumulated from the original $1.9 million theft plus 35 years of interest. "That money belongs to David's estate," I said. "It belongs to Alicia." "Exactly. And if Brandon married Alicia, he could claim it as marital property, or convince her to access it voluntarily. Either way, he'd finally get the money his grandfather stole." I sat in my kitchen, processing this. Brandon hadn't fallen in love with my daughter. He'd hunted her, studied her, waited for her father to die, then engineered a meeting designed to look like fate. "There's more," Porter said. "I found email exchanges between Brandon and a guy named Vincent Cole. He's a money launderer, currently under federal investigation. They've been discussing how to legitimize the offshore funds. Brandon specifically mentioned marrying into the Washington family as the key to accessing the accounts legally. Do you have copies of these emails?" "Sending them to you now, along with photos of Brandon with Jessica and Rachel, bank statements showing his debts, and witness statements from both women. Lorraine, you have enough here to stop this wedding, to show Alicia exactly who she's engaged to." "How long do I have?" "According to Alicia's Instagram, the wedding is planned for early October, so about 3 months. 3 months to save my daughter from a man who'd been planning to rob her since she was 26 years old." "Thank you, James." "Lorraine, one more thing. Be careful. Men like Brandon, when they're cornered, they get dangerous. Don't confront him alone. Don't tip him off that you know. Get Alicia alone, show her the evidence, and let her make the choice." I thanked him and hung up. Then I sat in my kitchen and cried. Not from sadness, from rage. This man had studied my daughter's grief, had watched her father die, had calculated the exact moment to enter her life when she was vulnerable, lonely, missing her father. He'd turned her love into a weapon against her. But Brandon Hayes had made one critical mistake. He'd assumed that isolating Alicia from her mother would make her easier to manipulate. He didn't understand that you can't truly separate a black mother from her child. You can put distance between them. You can manipulate the daughter into pulling away. But that bond, forged through generations of survival, strengthened by years of fighting for respect in a world that often denies it, that bond doesn't break. It bends, it stretches, it waits. And when the moment comes, it snaps back with the force of everything that tried to break it. Brandon Hayes was about to learn that lesson. The call that changed everything came on September 6, 2023 at 10:47 in the morning. I was in my garden, deadheading roses, the yellow ones I'd planted the summer after David died. My phone buzzed. Alicia's name on the screen. For a split second, I felt that old joy. Then I remembered the distance between us now, the careful conversations, the boundaries Brandon had drawn. "Hi, Mama." Her voice was flat, mechanical, like she was reading from a script. "Hello, baby girl, how are you? I'm calling to let you know that Brandon and I got married, yesterday, in Martha's Vineyard. It was small, just immediate family and close friends." The words hit like physical blows. Married. Yesterday. Martha's Vineyard. I stopped breathing. "But," I managed, "I thought you were having a wedding in October." We changed our minds. Brandon felt like a big wedding was too commercial, too much pressure. We found a perfect venue on the island and kept it simple. Simple. Secret. "Congratulations," I said, my voice sounding distant even to myself. I'm sure it was beautiful. It was perfect. Really intimate. Brandon's parents flew in from Connecticut. His sister came from San Francisco. My friend Jessica was my maid of honor. And Brandon's best friend Marcus stood up for him. The photographer got amazing shots. She was listing details like she was describing someone else's wedding. No emotion. No joy. Just facts delivered in that strange, flat voice. And she was listing who was there, making sure I understood who wasn't. "That sounds lovely, sweetheart." "Thanks. Oh, and Mama, we were hoping you could send the keys to the beach house. We're thinking of spending our honeymoon there. We didn't have time to plan a proper trip, so we thought, there it was. Not, I'm sorry I didn't invite you to my wedding. Not, I wish you could have been there. Just send the keys. The keys to property worth $2.1 million. The keys to the beach house," I repeated slowly. "Right. Brandon's really excited to finally see it. I've told him so much about it over the years. He's particularly interested in..." She paused, and I heard Brandon's voice in the background, muffled. "In the renovations you did and the property value appreciation." Property value appreciation. How romantic for a honeymoon. "Alicia," I said carefully, "when you say you got married yesterday, do you mean you had a ceremony, or are you legally married?" "Both, Mama. We got the license last week at Dukes County Courthouse on August 29th. Had the ceremony yesterday at the Winnetou Oceanside Resort. Why?" "Just clarifying, sweetheart." "So you'll send the keys? We're hoping to drive up Friday, September 8th, 2 days from now." "Of course, I'll make sure you get them." "Great. I'll text you the address." Brandon's excited. "Oh, and Mama, please don't make this into a big dramatic thing, okay? We made the choice that was right for us." We. But I heard Brandon's voice in every word. "I understand perfectly, baby girl." And I did. I understood that my daughter had married a con man who'd convinced her that excluding her own mother from her wedding was healthy. I understood that Brandon had succeeded in isolating her from the one person who might have protected her from him. "Thanks, Mama. I have to go. We're meeting the photographer to look at proofs." She hung up. I sat in my garden for a long time, staring at my roses. Yellow roses for friendship, for joy, for bonds that survive winter. Then I went inside and made 3 phone calls. September 6th, 2023, 11:34 a.m. Catherine Brooks had been David's attorney since 2005. She'd handled his will, his estate planning, and the probate after he died. She was 58 years old, a partner at Brooks & Sterling on Boylston Street, and she didn't tolerate fools. "Lorraine," she answered. "It's good to hear from you. How can I help?" I explained the situation. Alicia's secret wedding, Brandon's background, the connection to William Hayes, the offshore accounts. Catherine was quiet for a moment. Then, "Lorraine, this is more serious than you realize. Those offshore accounts, if they contain funds stolen from David and Brandon has been accessing them, that's not just civil fraud. That's criminal. Can we prove it?" "James Porter's evidence is a good start, but I need to do some digging. Give me 48 hours. "I have less than that. They're driving to my beach house Friday for their honeymoon." "Then we work fast. Don't send those keys yet. I'll call you back tomorrow." September 6th, 2023, 2:17 p.m. Catherine had given me Agent Williams's name. Tamara Williams was 43 years old, a federal agent specializing in financial crimes, and she'd been tracking money laundering networks in the Northeast for 6 years. She also happened to be investigating Vincent Cole, the money launderer Brandon had been emailing. "Mrs. Washington," Agent Williams said when Catherine connected us on a three-way call. "Catherine briefed me on your situation. I've been building a case on Vincent Cole for 8 months. Your son-in-law's communications with him are exactly what we need." "He's not my son-in-law," I said sharply. "He's a predator who married my daughter." "Understood. Here's where we stand. We have evidence of Brandon accessing offshore accounts that originated from William Hayes' theft. We have emails between Brandon and Cole discussing legitimizing those funds. We have a pattern of financial predation with 2 previous victims. What we don't have is direct evidence that Brandon married Alicia specifically to claim those funds." "How do we get that?" "We get him to admit it. On tape." My heart started racing. "You mean wire my daughter?" "With her consent, yes. If we can get Brandon to discuss his plan, to admit he knew about the money before marrying her, we can charge him with marriage fraud with intent to commit grand larceny. That's a federal offense. 10 to 15 years. And if Alicia won't agree? Then we proceed with the financial evidence we have. But a confession makes the case much stronger. It also helps us build cases for his other victims." "How do we approach Alicia?" "First," Agent Williams said, "we need to show her the truth. All of it. Can you get her alone?" "Not easily. Brandon controls her schedule." "Then we bring the truth to her, in a way she can't ignore. September 6th, 2023, 4:52 p.m. Porter, I need something specific. Can you get me documented proof of Brandon's research into Alicia? Phone records, location data, anything that shows he was surveilling her before they met?" "Already on it," Porter said. "I've got a contact at a data broker. Give me until tomorrow morning." "But Lorraine, what are you planning?" "I'm giving my daughter a wedding gift she'll never forget." I spent September 7th gathering materials. By 3 p.m., I had everything I needed, spread across my dining room table. Document Set 1, the Hayes-Washington Connection *. Copy of the 1988 partnership agreement between David Washington and William Hayes * bank statements showing the $1, $9 million embezzlement. David's bankruptcy filing from 1990. Tampa Tribune article from May 17, 1995, about William Hayes' deathbed confession. Death certificate, David Washington, September 14, 2022. Cause of death, myocardial infarction. Document Set 2, the offshore accounts. Account statements from First Caribbean International Bank, Grand Cayman. Account number, GC 447822938847. Current balance, $3,847,293. 18 * transaction history showing Brandon Hayes accessing funds on March 15, 2021, $12,000. August 3, 2021, $8,500. January 19, 2022, $15,000. May 7, 2022, $22,000. * legal opinion from Catherine Brooks stating these funds belong to David Washington's estate, inherited by Alicia Washington. Document Set 3. The pattern * photos of Brandon with Jessica Miller, 2019 to 2020, including engagement announcement, * photos of Brandon with Rachel Bennett, 2021 to 2022. Including engagement photos. Police report, Jessica Miller complaint, filed June 2020, regarding financial coercion. Restraining order, Rachel Bennett versus Brandon Hayes, filed February 2022. Witness statements from both women, notarized. Credit reports showing Brandon's gambling debts, $73,247 as of June 2020, Document Set 4, the surveillance. Phone records showing Brandon called Alicia's office 47 times before their first meeting on October 12, 2022, * security footage from the coffee shop showing Brandon arriving 45 minutes early, positioning himself where Alicia always sat. Social media analysis showing Brandon created a fake Instagram account at Boston_investments_BH that followed Alicia for 6 months before they met. Timeline document showing David dies September 14th, 2022, to Brandon meets Alicia, October 12, 2022, 28 days later. Document Set 5, the conspiracy. Email exchanges between Brandon Hayes and Vincent Cole, dated June 2022 to August 2023. In one email from July 15, 2022, Once the old man dies, I'll make my move on the daughter. She's lonely, successful, perfect target. The offshore funds become accessible through marriage. In another from March 3rd, 2023, engagement ring cost $43,000, but it's an investment. Once I have access to her accounts and can claim the Cayman money as marital property, we're talking $4 million plus. Document set 6. Contact information. Catherine Brooks, estate attorney, 617-555-0147. Agent Tamara Williams, FBI, financial crimes, 617-555-0893. Jessica Miller, 206-555-0234, willing to speak with Alicia. Rachel Bennett, 212-555-0876, willing to speak with Alicia. I arranged everything in a leather portfolio, the expensive kind with gold clasps that looked like it might contain important legal documents, because it did. On top, I placed a handwritten note on my cream stationery. Congratulations on your marriage. Every groom should know his wife's family history. Some debts pass through generations. Some truths wait decades to surface. Welcome to the Washington family, Brandon. You've been waiting for this moment since you were 13 years old. Lorraine. Then I added one more item, the keys to the beach house, on a Tiffany keychain I'd bought specifically for this purpose. Because if Brandon was going to claim he married my daughter for love, not money, he should at least get the vacation property he'd been planning to inherit. I wrapped the portfolio in silver paper with a white satin bow. Elegant, expensive looking, the kind of wedding gift that would make Brandon eager to open it. September 8th, 2023, 7:23 a.m. I drove to Boston in my 2019 Toyota Camry, arriving at Alicia and Brandon's apartment building on Commonwealth Avenue at 9:47 a.m. They lived in Unit 804 of the Hadley, a luxury building where rent started at $4,200 per month. Brandon's apartment, according to Porter's research. Paid for with money from the Cayman accounts. I didn't knock. Didn't want to see Brandon's face. Didn't trust myself not to say something that would ruin the plan. Instead, I placed the wrapped portfolio directly in front of their door, took a photo with my phone, time-stamped 9:51 a.m. for legal purposes, and left. On the drive back to Cape Cod, I called Patricia. "It's done," I said. "What did you send them?" "The truth, all of it. Every document, every photo, every piece of evidence that proves exactly who Brandon Hayes is and what he planned to do to Alicia." "How do you think she'll react?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But I'd rather have her hate me for telling the truth than watch her get destroyed by his lies." "And Brandon?" I smiled, keeping my eyes on the road. "Brandon's about to learn that you don't con a black woman's daughter. Not in this lifetime." The call came at 2:17 p.m. I was sitting on my porch, drinking sweet tea, watching the ocean. My phone rang. Alicia's number. But it wasn't Alicia's voice. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Brandon was screaming. Full volume. Out of control. "You crazy old bitch! How dare you send us this garbage?" I set down my tea glass carefully. "Hello, Brandon. This isn't funny. This is harassment. I'm calling the police." "I'm confused, dear. What exactly would you report? That your mother-in-law gave you a wedding gift containing public records, newspaper articles, bank statements that Catherine Brooks has already filed with the probate court?" In the background, I could hear Alicia crying. "Trevor, calm down," she was saying. "No!" Brandon shouted. "This woman is insane. She's trying to ruin our marriage before it even starts." I couldn't help but smile. "Brandon, surely you're not upset about me sharing some interesting family history. I thought you'd appreciate knowing about the connections between our families." "There's no connection. Your husband was a loser who couldn't protect his own money. My grandfather was smarter than him." There it was, the mask slipping. "So you admit your grandfather stole from David?" Pause. Brandon realized his mistake. That's not... You're twisting my words. The bank records are very clear, Brandon. $1.9 million. Embezzled between January 1988 and June 1989. Your grandfather confessed on his deathbed. The Tampa Tribune published his statement. Would you like me to read it to you? You have no right. I have every right. Those offshore accounts, the ones you've been accessing since 2021, they legally belong to David Washington's estate, which means they belong to Alicia. You've been spending your wife's inheritance for 2 years, That's called theft, Brandon. That's bullshit. Those accounts were my grandfather's. Accounts funded with stolen money, which you knew about, which you've been accessing without disclosure. Catherine Brooks estimates the current value at $3.8 million, by the way. With interest and penalties, Alicia's entitled to approximately $4.2 million. I heard something crash in the background. You're lying! Brandon's voice was shaking now, not with anger, with fear. You made all this up because you can't stand to see Alicia happy. Then why are you so upset, dear? If none of this is true, you'd simply laugh it off. Maybe call a lawyer to sue me for defamation. But you're not doing that, are you? You're screaming. Because you know every word is true. Alicia won't believe you. She loves me. Does she? Or does she love the person you pretended to be? The man who accidentally bumped into her at that coffee shop on October 12, 2022? Except it wasn't an accident, was it? You were waiting for her father to die. You calculated exactly when to make your move. Silence. How did you— Phone records, Brandon. Security footage. Email exchanges with Vincent Cole where you explicitly stated your plan. Agent Tamara Williams has copies of everything. She's been investigating Cole for months. You just handed her the connection she needed. You're bluffing. Her number's in the portfolio. Give her a call. She's expecting to hear from you. More crashing sounds. Then Alicia's voice, closer now. Give me the phone. Give me the phone. Shuffling. Then my daughter's voice, broken and raw. Mama, is this real? All of it? My heart broke. Yes, baby girl, I'm so sorry, but yes. He researched me? He planned— She couldn't finish. I have contacts for Jessica Miller and Rachel Bennett, the women in the photos. They'll tell you their stories. It's the same pattern, Alicia, the same manipulation. You're not the first, but if we act now, you can be the last. I don't— She was crying. I don't understand. Why would he— Money, baby. The offshore accounts. He needed to marry you to claim them legally. This was never about love. Brandon's voice in the background. Don't listen to her. She's poisoning our marriage. I love you, Alicia. Brandon, Alicia said, her voice changing, getting stronger. Get out. What? Get out, pack a bag and get out. I need time to think. Alicia, please. Out! I heard a door slam. Then Alicia came back on the line. Mama, I need you to send me those contact numbers. Jessica and Rachel, I need to hear this from them. I'll text them right now. And the lawyer? And the FBI agent. Baby girl, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Because if what you're saying is true, if he married me for money— Her voice broke again. Then I want him destroyed. Do you understand? Not just divorced. Destroyed. I had never been more proud of my daughter. I understand. And I'll help you. Over the next 72 hours, my daughter discovered exactly who she'd married. September 8th, 4:47 p.m., Alicia called Jessica Miller. They spoke for 2 hours and 17 minutes. I know because Alicia called me afterward. Mama, it's the same, word for word. He told Jessica that her father was controlling her, that she needed healthy boundaries. He isolated her from her family, then pushed for access to her restaurant trust. When her father investigated, Brandon called Jessica paranoid and disappeared. September 9th, 10:22 a.m., Alicia called Rachel Bennett. Another 2-hour conversation. Rachel told Alicia about Brandon's proposal after only 4 months. His insistence on joint bank accounts to build their future together. How he'd researched her trust fund before they met. He waited for my mom to die, Rachel told Alicia. I found out later he'd been tracking my family for months. When Mom passed, he engineered a meeting at an art gallery. Made it seem like fate. September 9th, 3:15 p.m., Alicia met with Catherine Brooks. Catherine showed her the legal documentation, the offshore accounts, David's estate claim, Brandon's unauthorized access. You have grounds for annulment, Catherine told her. The marriage was obtained through fraud, but Mrs. Washington, I'm recommending we also pursue criminal charges. September 10th, 9 a.m., Alicia met with Agent Tamara Williams. That's when things got serious. Agent Williams laid out the FBI's case, Brandon's pattern of fraud, his emails with Vincent Cole, his systematic targeting of wealthy women. We want to stop him permanently, Agent Williams said, but we need your help. What kind of help? Alicia asked. We need you to talk to him, wearing a wire. Get him to admit what he did. My daughter sat in that FBI office, looked at the female agent who'd devoted her career to stopping predators like Brandon, and said, "When do we start? September 11th, 2023. Agent Williams briefed us on the plan. Alicia would text Brandon, say she wanted to talk. He'd come back to the apartment. He'd been staying at a hotel since Alicia kicked him out. The apartment would be monitored. Alicia would wear a wire. All she had to do was get him talking. He'll try to manipulate you," Agent Williams warned. "Love bombing, gaslighting, promises to change. Don't let him derail the conversation. Keep bringing it back to the money, to his plan. Make him defend himself." Alicia nodded. She looked different than she had 3 days ago. Harder, clearer, like someone waking up from a long sleep. "What if he gets violent?" I asked. "We'll have agents in the apartment next door and in a van outside. If Alicia says the safe word, pineapple, we come in immediately." That night, Alicia texted Brandon, "We need to talk. Come to the apartment tomorrow at 7 p.m. Come alone." He responded in 30 seconds. "Thank God. I miss you so much. I can explain everything. Your mother is lying. I love you." The trap was set. September 12th, 2023, 6:47 p.m. I sat in the FBI field office on Cambridge Street with Patricia beside me, watching a monitor that showed Alicia's living room in real time. Agent Williams stood behind us, headset on, coordinating with the team. 3 FBI agents were positioned in apartment 806, the unit next door. 2 more were in an unmarked van on Commonwealth Avenue, all of them listening, all of them waiting. Alicia sat on her couch wearing jeans and a Boston University sweatshirt. The wire was hidden under the fabric, a tiny microphone no bigger than a shirt button. She looked calm, but I could see her hands trembling slightly. At 6:52 p.m., there was a knock. Alicia stood, smoothed her hair, and opened the door. Brandon stood in the hallway holding roses, 24 red roses, the expensive kind from Winston Flowers on Newberry Street, probably $240 worth. He wore a navy suit, crisp white shirt, no tie. His eyes were red like he'd been crying. "Alicia," he said, his voice breaking. "Thank God. I've missed you so much." He moved to hug her. Alicia stepped back. "Come in. Sit down." Brandon's face flickered, just for a second, with something cold. Then the mask returned. Concern, love, devotion. He sat on the couch where she directed, set the roses on the coffee table. "Baby, I know your mother told you things, terrible things, but you have to understand. She's twisting the truth. She's jealous that you have someone who loves you. She's trying to destroy what we have because she can't stand to see you happy without her." Classic manipulation. Make the victim doubt their perception. Make the truth teller the villain. Alicia sat across from him in the armchair. "Brandon, I need you to be honest with me. Did you know about the connection between your grandfather and my father before we met?" Pause. Yes. I knew my grandfather had business dealings in Boston in the 1980s, but that was ancient history, baby. It has nothing to do with us. Did you know specifically that your grandfather stole money from David Washington? Brandon's jaw tightened. The word stole is loaded. There were business disagreements, different perspectives on... "Did you know," Alicia interrupted, her voice steady, "that your grandfather embezzled $1.9 million from my father?" Longer pause. "I knew there was money involved, but Alicia, that was my grandfather's money. He earned it through smart investments. He stole it. There are bank records, court documents, his own deathbed confession published in the Tampa Tribune on May 17, 1995. He admitted it, Brandon." Brandon stood up, started pacing. "Okay, fine. My grandfather made mistakes. But what does that have to do with you and me? When did you learn about the offshore accounts?" "What offshore accounts?" "The ones in the Cayman Islands. Account number GC44782293887. The ones you've been accessing since March 2021. Brandon went very still. "Who told you about..." He stopped himself. "You've withdrawn money from those accounts. $12,000 on March 15th, 2021. $8,500 on August 3rd, 2021. $15,000 on January 19th, 2022. $22,000 on May 7th, 2022. Should I continue? Those accounts are family money. I have every right. They're funded with money stolen from my father, which makes them legally part of his estate, which means they belong to me." Brandon's face was changing now, the charm draining away, something harder underneath. So this is what this is about? Money? I thought you loved me, Alicia. I did love you. I loved the person I thought you were. But he doesn't exist, does he? I'm right here. I'm the same person. No, you're not. Alicia leaned forward. Tell me about Jessica Miller. Brandon's face went pale. Who? Jessica Miller. You dated her for 14 months in 2019 and 2020. Got engaged. Then her father discovered you had $73,000 in gambling debts, and you disappeared overnight. That was different. Different how? Tell me about Rachel Bennett. Alicia, please. You dated her for 11 months, proposed after 3, pushed for joint bank accounts. Her brother hired a forensic accountant and found your pattern. You left her too. Brandon was sweating now. Those women lied. They're bitter. I talked to them, Brandon. Both of them. 2 hours with Jessica. 2 hours with Rachel. They told me everything. The isolation tactics. The boundary conversations. The way you convinced them their families were toxic. It's the same script, Brandon. Word for word what you said to me. That's because I learned from those relationships. I learned what not to do. When did you start researching me? I didn't. I have phone records showing you called my office 47 times before October 12th, 2022. I have security footage from Pavement Coffee House showing you arriving 45 minutes early, positioning yourself in my usual seat. I have proof you created a fake Instagram account that followed me for 6 months. Brandon's hands were shaking now. You're making this sound sinister. I was interested in you. I wanted to. My father died on September 14th, 2022. You accidentally met me 28 days later. October 12th. Was that timing coincidental? Silence. Answer me, Brandon. Did you wait for my father to die before making contact? His voice broke. Alicia, you have to understand. I fell in love with you for real. The circumstances of how we met don't change that. Did you wait for him to die? Yes or no? Yes, Brandon exploded. Yes, okay? I knew about your father's health. I knew he had a heart condition. I knew when he died you'd be vulnerable, lonely, the sole heir to everything he had. So yes, I waited. I planned it. But then I met you, Alicia, and everything changed. There it was, the confession. In the FBI office, Agent Williams spoke into her headset. We have admission of deliberate targeting. Hold positions. Alicia's voice stayed steady. What were you planning to do once we were married? Nothing. I just wanted to be with you. The offshore accounts, Brandon. What was your plan for accessing them? There was no plan. I have emails between you and Vincent Cole. July 15th, 2022. You wrote, once the old man dies, I'll make my move on the daughter. She's lonely, successful, perfect target. The offshore funds become accessible through marriage. Do you remember writing that? Brandon went completely white. How did you... Those emails were private? Vincent Cole is under federal investigation. The FBI has everything, Brandon. Every email, every text, every plan you made. No, that's impossible. March 3rd, 2023. You wrote to Cole, engagement ring cost $43,000, but it's an investment. Once I have access to her accounts and can claim the Cayman money as marital property, we're talking $4 million plus. You priced out our marriage, Brandon. You calculated the return on investment of marrying me. Brandon collapsed onto the couch, head in his hands. It wasn't supposed to be like this, he said quietly. I needed that money, Alicia. My grandfather stole it and died before he could enjoy it. It should have been mine. Your father was weak. He let my grandfather outsmart him. That money was meant for the Hayes family. My father wasn't weak. He was betrayed by someone he trusted, just like I was betrayed by you. Brandon looked up, and for the first time I saw real rage in his eyes. You wouldn't even have that money without me. I'm the one who knows where it is. I'm the one who can access it. We could have been rich together, Alicia. $4 million. We could have had everything. So you did marry me for the money. I married you because we're good together, because it makes sense. The money situation it works out perfectly for both of us. Alicia stood up. Brandon Hayes, I want you to leave this apartment. I want you out of my life. We're getting an annulment. Brandon stood too, suddenly desperate. You can't do this. We're married. We made vows. Vows you never meant. I love you! He grabbed her arm. Alicia pulled back. Pineapple! The door burst open. 3 FBI agents flooded into the room, weapons drawn. Hands up! Brandon Hayes, hands where we can see them. Brandon's face went from rage to shock to terror in 3 seconds. What is this? Alicia, what did you— Brandon Michael Hayes. Agent Williams entered behind the agents, holding up her badge. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, marriage fraud with intent to commit grand larceny, and accessing stolen property. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You set me up! Brandon lunged toward Alicia. 2 agents tackled him. You fucking bitch! You set me up! You have the right to an attorney. I'll destroy you! I'll make your life hell! They cuffed him, started dragging him toward the door. Brandon was screaming now, all pretense gone. You think you're so smart? You think you won? I would have given you everything. We could have been happy, but you chose that bitter old cunt over me. You chose her. Agent Williams leaned close to his ear. Mr. Hayes, I suggest you use your right to remain silent. You've already confessed to multiple federal felonies. Every word you say now just makes it worse. They pulled him out of the apartment. Alicia stood frozen in her living room, shaking. I was out of my chair and running. By the time I reached Alicia's apartment, Patricia driving 80 miles per hour from Cambridge to Back Bay, my daughter had collapsed. Agent Williams met me at the door. She's okay, physically, but she's in shock. I found Alicia curled up on her couch, still wearing the wire, staring at nothing. Baby girl. I sat beside her, pulled her into my arms. She broke, completely. Sobbed like she was 8 years old again, like the day we buried her father. Mama, he waited for Daddy to die. He waited. He watched our family and he calculated when to— She couldn't finish. I know, baby. I know. He never loved me. It was all fake. Every kiss, every I love you, every— She pulled back, looked at me with devastated eyes. How did I not see it? Because he's an expert, Alicia. He's been doing this for years. Jessica didn't see it. Rachel didn't see it. Smart, successful women who did nothing wrong except trust someone who studied how to manipulate them. I shut you out. I believed him when he said you were toxic. I didn't invite you to my own wedding. Stop. I held her face in my hands. You were deceived by a predator. That is not your fault. That is his fault. His choice. His evil. Patricia came in with tea. We sat together, 3 generations of Washington women, and waited for Alicia to stop shaking. At 9:34 p.m., Agent Williams came back. Mrs. Washington, Alicia, Brandon's been processed. Bail hearing is Monday morning. Given his flight risk and access to offshore accounts, we're requesting $500,000 bail. Will his family post it? I asked. His parents have a modest home in Greenwich worth about $380,000. They can't afford $500,000. And the offshore accounts are frozen pending investigation. So unless he has resources we don't know about, he's staying in custody. Good. 6 weeks later, October 23, 2023, Brandon's trial began. He'd refused the plea deal. 8 years if he cooperated, testified against Vincent Cole, showed remorse. Brandon's ego wouldn't let him plead guilty. He insisted on trial, convinced he could charm a jury the way he'd charmed his victims. He was wrong. Day 1. The prosecution opened with a timeline. Brandon's research into Alicia, his grandfather's theft, his pattern with Jessica and Rachel, the emails with Vincent Cole. The jury, 7 women, 5 men, ranging from 24 to 68 years old, listened with increasingly horrified expressions. Day 2. Jessica Miller testified. She wore a navy suit, her wedding ring visible on her left hand. She was 32 now, married to a teacher, mother of twin girls. Brandon isolated me from my family, she said clearly. He convinced me my father was controlling, that I needed boundaries. Then he pushed for access to my restaurant trust fund. When my father hired investigators and discovered Brandon's gambling debts totaling $73,247, I confronted him. He called me paranoid. Left that night. I never heard from him again. Day 3. Rachel Bennett testified. She was an art curator now, living in Manhattan, engaged to a curator at the Met. He proposed after 4 months, Rachel said. Rushed everything. Wanted joint bank accounts immediately. said married couples should share everything. When my brother Thomas discovered Brandon's pattern of targeting wealthy women, we confronted him. He denied it all, made me feel crazy for questioning him. Then he disappeared. Day 4, the bombshell. The prosecution called Vincent Cole. Vincent had taken an immunity deal, testify truthfully, avoid prosecution for money laundering. He walked into court wearing an orange jumpsuit, chains around his wrists. He was 41 years old, balding, looked like an accountant, which technically he was. A criminal accountant, but still. "Mr. Cole," the prosecutor asked, "how did you know the defendant?" Brandon hired me in June 2021 to help him access offshore accounts established by his grandfather. What did he mean by help him access? He said the accounts were funded with money stolen from a business partner in the 1980s. The original victim, David Washington, had died in 2022. Brandon wanted to claim the money legally by marrying Washington's daughter, Alicia. The courtroom erupted. The judge gavelled for silence. "When did Brandon first discuss this plan with you?" "June 18th, 2021, more than a year before David Washington died." Gasps throughout the courtroom. "Are you saying Brandon planned this before Mr. Washington's death?" "Yes. He told me David had a heart condition, that it was only a matter of time. Brandon said he'd already identified Alicia as the target. She was successful, lonely after her father's diagnosis, would inherit everything. He was waiting for David to die so he could make his move without raising suspicion." Alicia grabbed my hand. I squeezed back hard. Did Brandon specify when he planned to approach Alicia? He said he'd wait 30 days after the funeral, long enough that she'd be grieving, vulnerable, but not so soon that it looked suspicious. And did he follow that timeline? Vincent nodded. David Washington died September 14th, 2022. Brandon engineered his chance encounter with Alicia on October 12th, 2022, exactly 28 days later. The prosecutor held up the timeline chart for the jury. The dates matched perfectly. "Mr. Cole, in your professional opinion, was Brandon Hayes motivated by love or money?" "Money, absolutely. He'd calculated that the offshore accounts, originally $1.9 million, would be worth approximately $3. $8 million with 35 years of compound interest. He planned to claim them as marital property after the wedding, then divorce Alicia within 2 years with a substantial settlement." I looked at Brandon. He was slumped in his chair, defeated. His expensive lawyer couldn't object to any of this because it was all true. October 30th, 2023, sentencing day. Before the judge handed down Brandon's sentence, Alicia had the right to address the court. She stood at the podium in a black dress, her natural hair pulled back, looking stronger than she had in months. "Your Honor, I'd like to speak about inheritance. Not money, though that's what Brandon obsessed over. I'm talking about what we inherit from our parents. From my father, David Washington, I inherited resilience. He survived betrayal by Brandon's grandfather, survived bankruptcy, survived the stress that eventually stopped his heart. He taught me that setbacks don't define you, your response does. From my mother, Lorraine Washington, I inherited strength. Lorraine raised me alone after my father died. She worked 35 years as a nurse in the ER, double shifts, night shifts. She never missed a parent-teacher conference, never made me feel like we were struggling, even when we were. She's a black woman who's lived through eras I can only read about, who's faced racism I'll never fully understand, who's built a life through sheer determination and love. She taught me that love is action. It's showing up. It's staying present even when someone pushes you away. Brandon Hayes tried to steal more than money from me. He tried to steal my mother's love, my father's legacy, my own sense of self. He studied me like I was a mark, researched my family's trauma, engineered our chance encounter. Every kiss was calculated. Every I love you was rehearsed. He waited for my father to die before approaching me, because grieving daughters are easier to manipulate. He isolated me from my mother, the woman who sacrificed everything for me, because he knew she'd see through him. He convinced me her love was unhealthy, and his manipulation was healthy boundaries. But here's what Brandon didn't understand about black women like my mother. We've survived systems designed to break us. We've raised children alone. We've built lives with no safety net. We've navigated a world that often diminishes us while somehow staying strong enough to protect our families. Brandon thought my mother was just an obstacle. He underestimated her because society has underestimated black women for generations. But Lorraine Washington is not an obstacle. She's a force of nature. She investigated. She strategized. She protected me even when I didn't want protection. She loved me enough to risk our relationship by telling me the truth. That's what I inherited, Your Honor. Not just money or property, but unshakable love. The kind that doesn't quit. The kind that black mothers have been giving their children for generations, despite every system trying to tear families apart. Brandon can sit there thinking he almost got away with it, but he never stood a chance, because he was playing a con game against a woman who's been beating rigged systems her whole life. I hope he spends every day of his sentence learning this lesson. Never underestimate a black woman protecting what's hers. The courtroom was silent for 3 full seconds, then applause, starting with one person in the back, then spreading. The judge didn't stop it. Brandon stared at the table, shoulders shaking. The judge gavelled for silence. Mr. Hayes, I've presided over fraud cases for 23 years. I've seen financial predators, identity thieves, embezzlers, but I have never seen someone weaponize intimacy the way you did. You turned love into larceny. You studied this woman's grief and used it against her. You waited for her father to die like a vulture circling prey. You are sentenced to 12 years in federal prison, full restitution to all victims totaling $4,247,000, and permanent forfeiture of access to the disputed offshore accounts. You will serve every day of this sentence, knowing that the women you tried to destroy are stronger than you ever were. Gavel. 6 months later, April 15th, 2024. I woke up in my beach house at 6:47 a.m. like I always do. Made coffee. Sat on my porch watching the sunrise over Cape Cod Bay. The water was calm. Spring was coming. Daffodils blooming in my garden. Yellow, like hope. My phone buzzed. Text from Alicia. Morning, Mama. Coffee at 10? Bringing someone I want you to meet. She'd been dating again. Slowly. Carefully. A high school teacher named Marcus Johnson who coached basketball and had a 9-year-old daughter from a previous marriage. He'd called me 2 weeks ago, asked permission to meet me properly, said Alicia had told him everything about Brandon, and he wanted to prove he was different. I'm not rushing anything, Mrs. Washington, he'd said. I know your daughter needs time. I just want you to know my intentions are honest. Any man who called a mother first was already ahead. At 9:58 a.m., Alicia's car pulled up. She got out wearing jeans and her father's old Boston College sweatshirt. Smiling. Really smiling. Not the practiced smile Brandon had required. Marcus stepped out, 6 feet tall, brown skin, kind eyes, carrying a homemade peach cobbler. Mrs. Washington, he said, extending his hand. I'm Marcus. Thank you for letting me visit your home. Come in, Marcus. Coffee's ready. We sat on my porch. Marcus was nervous but genuine. Asked about my nursing career, told stories about his students, showed me photos of his daughter, Zoe. Alicia told me what happened, he said carefully. With Brandon, I want you to know, I'm not him. I don't have offshore accounts or hidden agendas. I'm a teacher making $67,000 a year with a used Honda and student loans. What you see is what I am. And what are your intentions with my daughter? To take it slow, to earn her trust, to show up consistently. And if we get to a point where marriage makes sense, to have you at the wedding. Front row. I looked at Alicia. She was watching him with cautious hope. Marcus, I said, you're welcome here any time. After he left, Alicia and I walked the beach. He's good, Mama, really good. Patient, honest. His daughter is amazing, so smart. They have dinner together every Wednesday. He's teaching her chess. Do you love him? Not yet, but I think I could, when I'm ready. We walked in comfortable silence for a while. Mama, I started the foundation, the David Washington Foundation for Financial Abuse Survivors. We've funded legal cases for 47 women already. Therapy programs, job placement, everything I wish I'd had. Your father would be proud, baby girl. The offshore money, all $3.8 million, is going to the foundation. I don't want it, but I want it to help people. We stopped at the water's edge. Alicia took my hand. Thank you for not giving up on me. Alicia Washington, you're my daughter. You're my only child. Some con man in an expensive suit was never going to change that. We stood there, 2 black women on a beach, survivors of different battles but connected by unbreakable love. "Mama," Alicia said quietly, "how did you know what to do?" I smiled. "Baby girl, I'm 67 years old. I've survived racism in nursing school, single motherhood, losing your father, working twice as hard for half the respect. You think I was going to let Brandon Hayes destroy my child? But you risked our relationship. I could have chosen him over you. Then I would have waited, and when he finally showed his true self, and men like him always do, I would have been right here, because that's what mothers do, especially black mothers. We don't quit. We can't afford to." We walked back to the house, had lunch, talked about everything and nothing, and for the first time in 18 months, it felt like we had our life back. I'm Lorraine Washington. I'm 67 years old. I learned that at my age, the greatest power isn't money or property or even revenge. It's patience. It's love that survives manipulation. It's the wisdom to know when to act and when to wait. Brandon Hayes studied con artistry for years, but I've been loving my daughter since the moment I knew she existed. Love like that, especially a black mother's love, is the most powerful force on earth. Some people ask if I regret how I handled things, if I should have confronted Brandon directly, if I was too harsh. I don't regret anything. My daughter is free. Brandon is in prison. 2 other women got justice. And dozens more will be helped by the foundation Alicia built from his attempted theft. That's not revenge. That's redemption. As I sit on my porch this morning watching the ocean, I think about my grandmother in New Orleans, about my mother who marched for civil rights, about all the black women who came before me, who survived horrors I can't imagine, who passed down this unbreakable strength. We don't just survive, we protect our own. And anyone who forgets that? Well, they learn.